Whoa! Absolutely whoa! What a weekend of rugby we have just witnessed, and well worth getting up, being up into the wee small hours of 3 a.m. New Zealand time to watch what has been one of the great weekends of Rugby Championship rugby, and I'm here, as you should all well know by now, to bring you my opinion, my reviews on what I have just witnessed over the last small passage of about 10 hours. We will be seeing two games of the Rugby Championship in South Africa and in Argentina, and I'm going to have a look back over these matches with things I noted down, things I found interesting, points that players were lacking, points that I thought could be improved, all sorts of stuff. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know what it's all about. If you enjoy these segments where I talk about my opinions, give the video a thumbs up and let me know that you enjoy these videos as well. Now, without further ado, we have absolutely a massive amount to get through, so let's get started. First up, first match, 3 a.m. Sunday morning. I stayed up. I tried to have a nap beforehand, but I just couldn't do it. I stayed up till 5 a.m. to watch this match, and I can tell you what, the regrets were absolutely zero. This match had just an absolute electric atmosphere right from the start. I am talking South Africa, the Springboks, up against New Zealand, the All Blacks. Match number 1 of round 2 of the Rugby Championship, and so many talking points from this match to go through. So we'll start things off as we go through the match from the beginning. As I said before, fantastic atmosphere, as you'd expect from Ellis Park. Absolutely electric. A fantastic rugby stadium. A huge match, really, in the overall scheme of everything. The Rugby Championship, the World Cup. This was a leveller for the 1 and 2 ranked sides in World Rugby. So the game got underway. A huge ovation. You know, the weight of the world was on this match, and an absolute packed house. And straight off the whistle, first thing I noticed was a bit of a maul. And then what do I see? Tony Woodcock flying in from an offside position in the side, cleaning the maul up, putting it to the ground, unnoticed by the referee. And I thought, oh no. Oh no. Don't tell me we are going to have a match where the referee is going to decide ultimately what happens between these two sides. It gave me the early bit of a face palm going on, because I just thought, no, a blatantly obvious penalty that even I could pick up. The touch judge, who was right there about 3 metres from where he was, could not pick it up himself. So that was an early mistake I thought could dictate the way the match went. South Africa's early possession with the ball was brilliant. They were running the ball hard. They were breaking the lines. Willie le Roux, oh, how much criticism I have read about him, and kicking far too much, kicking all the time, kicking without any real conviction of where he's actually putting the ball. He was running it. He was running the ball brilliantly, and he scored the opening try. Of course, what a start to see Willie le Roux, of course, off a mistake from Israel Dag. Israel Dag, what are you doing? An absolute hospital pass to Kieran Reid, and it all went pear-shaped very quickly straight after that. There was, of course, penalties exchanged during that. Lima Sopawanga got his first taste of international rugby points, but the big blow come from Willie le Roux, who scored the opening try. After that, the All Blacks still trying to force their way into the game. You know, they were playing a very fast-paced side. They were tapping their penalties, not going for touch, not going for goal every time either. And I think it was 4 out of the first 5 straight-arm penalties they received all went to taps. That was a clear indication of their game plan, a clear indication of the speed and pace. They wanted to play this matchup, and they wanted to wind down this tired South African team. Really, they wanted to wear the whole lot down. Forwards, I guess, primarily, because that is where this game ultimately was going to be won and lost, is in the forward pack. So that was a big part of the All Blacks game plan. Piatel, although he was excellent throughout the rest of the game, I noted down his big mistake he made, probably the only mistake he really made, was catching the ball with his foot and putting his foot on the line after he caught it. It's just simple things like that can decide a World Cup, and we really must be critical of everything. You know, silly things like that just not knowing your position on the field can be pretty crucial. And at that point, South Africa, let's be fair, were controlling the game. They had dominance up front. They were being physical. They were brutal. And they were just smashing everything. Both teams' defence. Ultimately, the All Blacks started a bit slow, but it come up nicely. They gained speed. They gained momentum. They gained quickness off the line and straight into the South African attacking line as well. It was a big game where two defences went hammer and tong. Ultimately, there were a lot of mistakes as well because, just such brutal defence. There was a lot of massive tackles, driving backwards all over the place, and what else could we want for? It was at a hectic pace. There was massive hits going in. The defence was on point. The attack was sharp as well. There was passes just flying everywhere. It was what we expected from Ellis Park, and let's be fair, this game had a lot of expectation after what we've seen in previous years. So South Africa held the dominance up front, but it was in the backs that I really thought this is an area that I thought they probably would not be able to control. This is an area that they would lose and they could get a bit found out with, and it was the centre pairing, but boy oh boy, that was put to bed very quickly and very much for the whole match as well. DLND and Krill were absolutely fantastic. That is one of the best centre partnerships in a match I've seen as far as how they played in a very long time. For 70 minutes, they made Ma'anonu and Conrad Smith look like absolute, newcomers to the international scene. They were brilliant. DLND and Krill, I hope we see more of them. Krill is proving to be an absolute star for the Springboks in the centre position, and if he keeps this up, how much of a weakness have they turned into a strength by unearthing this young star? The ABs, of course, their pace was still up, but they were losing the battle throughout most of the field. The back row was where it was really hit. It was turnover after turnover after turnover. The defence I spoke of before was brutal, and that caused a lot of mistakes and knock-ons and forced passes. The breakdown, every single breakdown, there was men flying from everywhere into the ruck, turning over possession, getting over the ball very quickly as well. It was such a brutal match that there was no guaranteed ball at that first half. It was just absolutely pace out of this world. Messam and Woodcock, I thought in that first 40 minutes were subpar for the All Blacks, especially in the forwards. Messam had a lot of mistakes. He was not his best round the park. He tried to take a bit too much on with the defence, getting a bit held up as well in the tackle area. And Woodcock, well, I've been unconvinced about him for a few weeks now. I just don't know if he's really up to the standard that the All Blacks will be looking for. We're going towards half-time though, and the All Blacks were trailing at that point, and it looked like they were going to score. They were really on the front foot, and they got a good period of possession, and they were going at the Springboks line. 40th minute, and a try to Ben Smith. It looked like it was coming for a long time. Lema Sopuanga made the big bust, and it was a good break from him as well. He linked up with his Highlanders outside back, Ben Smith, who went in for the try, which just absolutely destroyed what the Springboks had worked so hard for in the last 30 minutes before that. It was a big try. In the context of this match, it was huge. At the halftime break, it made the score 10-all between these two sides, and that was a massive difference to not be down by 7. So the first half come to a close, and things were pretty even, especially on the scoreboard, but I thought the Springboks looked the better of the two sides heading into that halftime break. Into the second half straight away, and boom, 45 minutes in, Krill scores an absolute stunner. And what he did is go through two of, the best centre pairing in rugby history, the most capped together. Nonu and Smith, he went bang, straight through the middle of the two of them and scored a fantastic try. And then the changes started to come, just 5 minutes after the break, the changes started to come. Fikatoa come on, and then Barrett come on for Dag. As I mentioned in my preview, I thought Barrett would come on at fullback and, allow Sopuanga to play the full match and cover, as we've seen him before, at the back. So Fikatoa was on. Nonu, who's looked so good for so long now, looked a bit more human. He didn't look as good self as we thought, and like I said before the match, I thought the All Blacks may control the midfield. They didn't. Krill was fantastic. as was the L&D. In the 48th minute, just 3 minutes after Creel scored that fantastic try, Dane Coles hit back almost instantly with a massive try. The All Blacks trailed by 7, and Dane Coles put through on an absolute perfect running line straight through the hole, went and ran around Willie LaRue at the fullback and scored a try that any back in World Rugby would be extremely proud of. It was an amazing run by the hooker, and it put the All Blacks right back in it. Just 6 minutes on from that, Diego, who was fantastic throughout the match for the Springboks, scored what could have been a decisive try. He was just short. I think this was the right call as well. He did look agonisingly short of the line. Of course, that was a maul. It should have been, that was where the Springboks wanted to attack. And that is where they did attack. Diego should have scored that, and it could have made a big difference in the match. Diego, though, was great, but who would want to be a TMO in situations like that? Schockberger and Brousseau were fantastic as well. The back row, those two were a menace. They talked about Brousseau before the match, how he terrorised the All Blacks years ago, and, well, he just did the same, didn't he? That helmet, that headgear that you see, it just squirts out of the bottom of rucks with the ball. How many times we've seen that? He was brilliant. Sopoaga had a good debut as well. Ben Smith, outside him, was in good touch as well. I think the All Blacks and the Springboks had key men that were controlling their part of the match. In the 58th minute, South Africa had a huge opportunity to score a try. Ultimately, that is what led to the yellow card for Sam Whitelock, and I thought at that stage, I was like, wow, a massive spectacle like this. This game has been tight, it's been close for so long, but now the yellow card is going to ruin it. I was a bit disappointed, not the fact that the All Blacks, at that point looked like they should go behind and lose the match ultimately, but the fact that such a great match could be spoiled by a yellow card for, what did he do? Dive into the ruck, repeated infringing. I mean, I guess it's the rules, but such a big match like that, off he went, Whitelock was gone, and then that was a chance for South Africa. How long were they sitting inside the All Blacks 22? I heard it was about 10 minutes that they were camped down there looking for the try. Diego goes off with an injury. He was massive as well. Big loss for him to go in. And then they lost Koch, the replacement prop, having to go off. That put Naikani on, but of course he doesn't play on the same side as Koch did of the front row. So the loose head, the tight head were around the wrong way, and unbelievably, with a man in the bin and a substitute, now this is controversial, Naikani has played on both sides of the front row numerous times this season, but Berger called for golden oldie scrums. Now this here, bang, turning point in the match. The yellow card in the bin and repeated scrums, eventually turning into golden oldie scrums, and that just changed the game. The Springboks could not score with the time of the yellow card where Whitelock was in the bin. That changed the game. That was a turning point right there. That was it. South Africa this week, I think, were a bit more clever though with their substitutions. They were a bit better. They made them at a bit better timing as well, not so wholesale. They spread them out a bit more as well. So a better options off the bench for South Africa, but it really did change the match completely. In the 66th minute, there was a couple of more things that made me just about cringe, with the referee missing quite a number of things, a knock on, a forward pass as well, and very similar parts of the field, straight after each other almost, missed by the referee. I thought, goodness me, this one could go down once again, like we seen at the start. Woodcock miles offside, they let it go. Again, a few big mistakes missed by the ref. Somehow it did not affect the game too much, and at that time, both the sides had a massive amount of opportunities to score tries. It was getting absolutely hammering out there, big tackles from both sides. It was just, the intensity was just increasing. And then, the ultimate turning point of the match happened. Richie McCaw with a rehearsed line-out move that worked like an absolute charm. Straight through the middle of the line-out, running from the half-back position. Bang, through he goes and scores, ultimately, the winning try of the match. What a turnaround. The All Blacks, from that point on, at the 70th minute, dominated every facet of the game. The Springboks completely lost the plot and just completely crumbled like a big cookie. That 70th minute is when the All Blacks just seem to step it up another gear. They go into 5th gear and no one can keep up with them. They scored that brilliant try and it was just curtains after that. South Africa did not look like even getting close to scoring a try. The All Blacks dominated everything. They were just building towards that last final 10 minutes. Lambie come on the bench. I know last week a few of you paid out a few things that Lambie did that he was not up to the standard. Again, he come on. I did notice he wasn't quite at his best either for the Springboks. The final score, 27-20, an extremely close matchup. It's strange to say that when you look back on this match, the yellow card was the turning point for the side who actually got the card. It seems to make the ABs better, and we've seen it season after season. And it's like they expect it, and it's like they prepare for it, and they know what's going to happen. The standouts for me from that match, DL and Creel were fantastic. Brousseau, Berger, and De Jager were fantastic as well. The whole front row of South Africa for the first half at least, I'm talking Mtawera and Bismarck and Yanni du Plessis, they were brilliant. If they could play 80 minutes, the Springboks would have no front row problems. As for the All Blacks, Sopawanga I thought was very good on his debut. Piatel, subsequently named man of the match as well, he was very good, but did nothing huge, but did nothing wrong. Made quite a good line breaks as well, and kept his opposite number on his toes, which was Hendricks for the starting 15 as well. Ben Smith was good. It's great to see him back. He was outstanding. The back row, probably not miss him, but Vito, when he came on, was extremely good as well. McCaw and Reid were very active in that match. The bench made a huge impact for the All Blacks when they come on. And of course, you cannot forget Dane Coles. What a fantastic effort he made in that second half to score that fantastic try. That really set the game alight. So 27-20 the final score. The All Blacks took that win in an absolute mouth-watering match between two of the biggest rivals and 1 and 2 in the world. We turn our attention now to match number 2, Australia up against Argentina. Now, this match had a lot coming off it from last weekend. Argentina showed that they can really stick it with the best in the world, and Australia showed that you don't need to play 80 minutes to win a game. I thought this match had a lot of potential between these two sides. Straight off the whistle, national anthems. Goodness me, I've never heard anything like those national anthems from Argentina. They had a whole band there as well. The crowd were absolutely on cloud 9, singing and cheering, and it was atmosphere was just unbelievable, and it's something that you just can't get. The passion that the countries like Argentina have is just huge, and it's deep. They really love their sides, and it showed straight off before the game even started how good and how much they love their rugby in Argentina. That was great for me. It showed that Argentina do really actually care about how well the side goes, which is a massively important thing for the future of the country. So into the match, and the Argentinian defence straight on, very early on, showed that they have not lost anything from where they were the week before against the All Blacks. And straight off, first opportunity, Australia on attack, and how on earth did Israel Folau not get a yellow card? It was quite a bit into the match. It was quite a stalemate for a start. Argentina actually were going quite well. Australia had the possession, but the Argentinian defence was holding very tight and holding out the Wallabies quite easily for that opening stanza until that kick went up, and Folau, well, to be fair, made a dreadful effort, taking out the fullback who was, that Cordero at fullback. It was a massively bad tackle, took him straight out onto the ground. There was no carrying the man to the floor. I thought that had to be a straight yellow, but somehow he just got a warning, a penalty, and that kind of, again, it's a yellow card that could control a match, but there was a dangerous tackle. It was Cordero, a fullback as well. So Folau was lucky. Really a bad tackle like that, I expected to be a yellow card, but inconsistencies, as has been mentioned already. World Cup time, the refs all need to be on the same page, and if one ref gives that as a yellow card and the others don't, there's some problems between the referees. So Argentina were looking pretty good. They were gaining some good momentum in the match. It was very close in the early stages, and Tamua, who looked so good for them last week against South Africa, went down injured. It'll be a huge loss for the Wallabies to lose someone like Tamua, who showed that he is capable at this level and he does add spark to this Wallabies backline. Then, what on earth happened when the drop goal attempt from Sanchez, I'm sure it was Sanchez, absolutely miles out, almost halfway, smashed it, and it just went wide. Oh, it was an absolute stunning drop goal opportunity, and I thought, this is good. Argentina are going to accumulate points, and they're going to be in this match, and that's what happened for the first 40 minutes as well. Into the 16th minute of the game, and a simple play, like we seen last week with Australia, a simple set-piece play. This one was just a simple game of numbers through the back line that left Tamani with an easy finish into the corner and score the opening try, which I thought was a bit against the run of the play as well. Argentina probably were the better looking side at that point. Argentina, I think, were also very unlucky with a lot of penalties they got against them as well. There's a lot of dodgy calls. There was, the ruck and breakdown, I think, was very poorly refereed in that game. I don't know if he really got on top of that, especially with a player like Pocock, who does very well do the breakdown, kind of stealing the ball thing, and I think he got away with a lot, and Argentina were probably a bit unlucky with a lot of the calls that went against them, but they were still in the game at that point. Then, something that just made me put my head in my hands and say, well, I told you so. Will Skelton, this man is an absolute mug, lying on the ground in a ruck, just about strangling a scrum half. I mean, Landajo's a tiny little man. What on earth are you doing, Will Skelton? You're a good player. You're a big player. You're strong. Why do you need to really get into the dirty side of the game of rugby? You got a penalty reversed against you as well, and it's just silly stuff. Why does he resort to that when he can really punish people running with the ball? That just that concerned me for the Australian sort of thing. I thought Nick Phibbs was getting absolutely destroyed out there. His protection around the rucks probably wasn't as good as he would have liked, and he was put under the pump by the Argentinians a number of times. Bernard Foley, we talked about before the game, is he going to be at his best again? I thought no. His kicking was abysmal. His general play around the field was pretty poor as well, and he was, pretty wasteful, as were most of the Australians with their chances, their opportunities. They just ended up with nothing. Put that down to the Argentinian defence being quite good, but as they went into half-time, the score was 8-6, Australia leading, a try and a penalty, up against 2 penalties for Sanchez. Foley getting the 1 penalty for Australia and the Tamani try. I think Argentina did still kick quite pointlessly in that first half, but both sides did waste quite a few chances, and it could have been a bigger spectacle than it was, but I think both sides definitely were throwing away a lot of chances, and it was becoming a bit of a messy game that was kind of a bit strange to watch at the time. I remember putting a tweet out saying this game at half-time, it's a bit weird. I don't know what exactly I'm thinking. Australia aren't really playing that well, and Argentina are battling and fighting, but it doesn't look like any side is going to take this game by the scruff of the neck, but I was very, very wrong about that in the end. An early penalty straight off the whistle gave Australia a good early chance to get some field territory going, and Argentina giving away the silly penalty straight away. It just set the tone for the second half, and things didn't really improve at all. Argentina looked the better side on attack from the first half, and they kept that going into the second half as well, but then things all changed. Australia brought on the talk, the change that I talked about in the preview. Hooper and Pocock 7 and 8. I thought, yeah, this is it. This could change the match, and that is exactly what happened. Dean Munn scored the try. Can we call it a try? It was a great try. It was a great run from Dean Munn, and it really announced his return to the international duty as well. But it was all scored off a forward pass. The grounding, although I didn't see any decent replays of it, did at full speed, normal camera angle, look a bit dodgy. A chance that he didn't even get that down, but the pass was definitely forward. The ref had no qualm whatsoever to go straight and award the try. I thought this is a bit harsh on Argentina. I don't think they really deserved, at that point the game was still wide open and Argentina were definitely still in it. Mum scored that try and it did fall quite away from them after that. Foley still couldn't kick the ball and he was not on the best of his game. Foley is a real problem. I don't know. Australian fans think that he is the Mr. Consistency, but I see massive frailties in Brendan Foley. When he's not on his form, he's just not anywhere near the best that Australia need. I thought when Cooper came on, when Tamil got injured, I thought Cooper actually increased the tempo of the game. He actually brought a lot more chances. He looked quite good as opposed to last week when he looked very flat. I think the extra time in the squad has helped out Quade Cooper. He looked quite good off the bench as well. Australia were consistently offside at ruck time, and they were giving away Argentina chances to exit out of their own area very easily as well. Both sides were giving away numerous penalties and numerous mistakes, although Australia did look the better of the side as the game wore on. And then Quade Cooper absolutely had a mind explosion. Give away a massive yellow card. At that point of the game was still relatively close, but he gave himself a yellow card. A hooking, a nothing tackle around the neck, and it sent him off. It was a despicable, really, play, but it was deserved. It was a dreadful tackle, and he was gone for 10 minutes where the game kind of did continue its topsy-turvy sort of thing. Argentina tried to control a bit more. Sanchez, I thought, was a lot better this week than he was last week. He controlled the game a lot better for Argentina. But then, when they got their full complement, Curtly Beale come on for Quade Cooper, and things started to gel a bit better. Australia started to control every part of the match, as we seen from them last week as well. That last 20 minutes or so, they turned things around. Even the last 10 minutes, really, you could say. And they scored 2 late tries. It did blow out very much, with Kurandrani and Adam Ashley Cooper scoring a try apiece in the 77th and 78th minute. I thought, fair play to the Wallabies again. They've really played their best in the last 10 minutes or so, but it did blow out the match. Argentina didn't deserve a scoreline like this for how they played. It did not represent how the game was in the end, but they got the tries and they got a bonus point as well, which put them equal first with the All Blacks on the table in the end. A bit of a poor finish from Argentina, a tame effort to end the game, and it was just a bit of a defeatist kind of attitude that really set the game to the end. The decision making of the Argentinians really fell away as well. They were kicking aimless balls away even more so, and just seemed out of ideas as the game really wore on, and they just had nothing more to offer. The final score on that one in the end was 34-9, and really that doesn't represent the game at all. Argentina should have done a lot better with the chance that they received from that. So the good, I think, for Argentina, I thought Cordero was fantastic. The fullback Camacho was very good as well. Their forward pack, again, didn't dominate as much as they probably would have liked. And their real standouts, I thought Fernandez Lobby had a good game as well. Issa, the number 8, the young man, had a very strong game for Argentina as well. Sanchez was definitely very much more the type of player he needs to be in the Argentinian shirt. And the backline, I thought, gelled quite well. They had chances, plenty of chances, but the support play wasn't quite up to standard. The option taking as well, not quite where it needs to be. I thought, as for Australia, I thought Quade Cooper come on the field, and he added a lot of spark to the Australian side, which boosted them up quite nicely. Tamani was a massive impact coming in on the wing. He added a lot more than the fast, speedy wingers. His size and power was very much an impactful kind of thing. And Pocock was good. He bent the rules, and he played to what he was given. He played to the whistle, which, as we know, is the way you got to do it. If you want to win, you got to play as far as you can let you go. And Pocock did exactly that. He was good for the Wallabies as well, and they ultimately blew this match out and got a fantastic win that sets them up nicely for the last round, which will decide the Rugby Championship. Australia versus New Zealand to decide the title. Both teams tied on 9 points at the top of the ladder. Argentina will be up against South Africa. That one, of course, will be a dead rubber, but again, another chance for South Africa, for Argentina, I should say, to prove their worth in international rugby. But for now, that is my time done and dusted. That is my views on the weekend of rugby. Again, lots to say, lots to go through, and I've talked far too long as per usual. But a good weekend of rugby. I want to know what you guys thought of the matches as well. Whether you thought, deservedly so, the results went the way, who you thought was outstanding and played well as well. But generally, your thoughts, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Get some conversation going if you would like as well. It's always good to hear others' opinions from different viewpoints, It really opens up your viewpoint on what happens when you see it from someone else's angle. So it's always good to have a good chat, and this is what I've thought about the games. I'll be back again, I think, in a couple of weeks for the last round as well. But thank you for tuning in and watching. Be sure to leave your comments, hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the rugby discussions, and don't forget to subscribe so you can get plenty more of this coming your way in the future. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, take care.